of the Christiansburg Town Council meeting for October 25th, 2022. We're going to take a few moments of reflection, and then we'll do the pledge. Okay, and I'd like to ask Mr. Tim Wilson to say the pledge first.
Please join me.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, before we get started, you can tell that, or at least some of you should be able to tell, the mayor's not here, so I'll do my best in his stead. I hope he's enjoying his vacation and hurricane-free wherever he is. Any adjustments to the agenda? And hearing none, we're going to move on to public hearings. Item A, 3A, public hearing for vacation of 0.2 acres of right-of-way associated with the former Patrick's Way northwest location. Is there anybody here to speak on this? No one. Item 3B, our second public hearing for 2021 U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD, Community Development Block Grant, Consolidated Annual Performance and Evaluation Report. Is there any citizens here to speak on this? Hearing none, we're going to move on to the consent agenda. Under the consent agenda, we have the approval minutes for October 11th, 2022. Our monthly bill list. Item C, acknowledgement of proclamation recognizing November 1st, 2022 as Extra Mile Day. Consent agenda item D, schedule public hearing on December 13th, 2022 for a conditional use permit request by Birch Properties, LLC, property owner and Montgomery County Moose Lodge, number 1470, Lacey, to allow a lodge on property located at 1637 North Franklin Street, a portion of Northgate Village Shopping Center, tax parcel 466-A-20C, parcel ID 013214. Zone B3 General Business District. The property is designated as business/commercial on the future land use map of the 2013 Christiansburg Comprehensive Plan.
I will make a motion that we approve the consent agenda, items A through 2D.
I'll second.
With a motion and a second, I'll ask Ms. Henline, our clerk, to poll council.
Yes, sir. Councilman Bishop.
Aye.
Councilwoman Hicks.
Aye.
Councilwoman Hockett.
Aye.
Councilman Jenkins.
Aye.
Councilman Wilson.
Aye.
Okay, thank you, council. Passed, approved. So we have Miss Angie Covey here for introductions and presentations, item 5. And Angie, it's been going swimmingly so far, so I expect it to continue on.
Absolutely. I'd like to bring up some folks with me. I've got Michael Geary, and then Caden Berg and Jesse Hundle. And, you know, I can talk about ACE all day long and how great it is, but I work for New River Community College, so I think it's always a benefit for you to hear from the students. And then Michael Geary took on the role this past year of managing the community service component. So a little bit of, most of you know ACE, Access to Community College Education. You have provided funding every year for the program, and we are so appreciative to you for that. To date, since we started the program in 2018, there's been approximately 788 students who have benefited from the ACE program from Montgomery County. A number I think that's significant with that 788 is the community service component, which Michael's going to share. I'll give a little bit of an update on that. But each student is required to do 80 hours of community service in their locality in Montgomery County. So that means to date, there's been over 91,000 hours of community service given back to Montgomery County. And I think that's a huge, huge shout out to the program. I'm sure there'll be questions, so I don't want to take up a lot of time with just sort of the nuts and bolts of ACE. I would like for Michael to share a little bit about the community service, and then the two students have an opportunity to say a few words.
Good evening, Council. My name is Michael Geary. For those of you who don't know me, I'm the Director of Fire and EMS here in Montgomery County. I'm very fortunate that this past year I was able to take over as the volunteer coordinator for the ACE program. It's something that I'm incredibly passionate about, and being able to see students that otherwise may not have the means to pursue education further than high school. This gives them the opportunity to pursue that education, to go into career fields that otherwise they wouldn't have the opportunity to pursue. So my component of ACE is coordinating all of our volunteers here in Montgomery County, and the mission of that is that as a council, as the Board of Supervisors in the county funds this program, we want the students to go back and give back in their communities. And so we had 13 organizations this past year that our students were able to go out volunteer with. Christiansburg Parks and Recreation, Brad Epperly was a huge proponent of this. So we had multiple students that gave back to the town of Christiansburg, but volunteered with local nonprofits as well to give back to the community. So that's a little bit about the background of ACE, about how my piece of it works, but it's an incredible program, something that, like I said, I'm very fortunate to consider myself a part of. We greatly appreciate your support, and we wouldn't be able to do it without you. And without further ado, we'll have a couple of students come up and speak on it.
This is Jesse.
Good evening. My name is Jesse Hundle, and I graduated from Christiansburg High School and immediately went to New River to study engineering. And I will be transferring to Virginia Tech next semester. And I just want to thank y'all for your support for ACE. It has been a great burden lifted off my shoulders. It is great to not be able to take out student loans for when I'm 17 years old, and it's a great financial burden because I get to work in my school, spend time with my family, and most importantly, get those grades up. So thank you guys very much.
Hi. Hi, I'm Caden Berg. As you heard, I'm part of Montgomery County ACE. I am in the Applied Sciences track at New River, looking to transfer to Radford to pursue environmental science and such. And being a part of ACE, it's like he said, he hit it on the nail. You get to come out of school debt-free and put that toward a further education and go higher. It's just been a great experience all around with New River.
So I'm sure you have questions, so Councilman Wilson.
No, I think it's a great program too. And I guess I didn't realize the community service proponent of it. And so learning that tonight makes me appreciate the program, that you guys are actually giving something back.
And when we started trying to build this program, and we looked at the community service component, Virginia Western does something very similar. Their program is called CCAP, and it's basically the same model. And they do their program differently, very well, in a way that suits Roanoke and the surrounding areas. But their required number of community service hours is 8, and we require 80. That's a significant difference. However, at Virginia Western, they're managing the community service in-house at Virginia Western, where when we started creating this model, we felt if the community service could be managed within the locality, then there could be more hours, and it could be beneficial back to that community in which is funding it. So that's why our model is defined that way.
So do you know approximately how many Christiansburg students are taking advantage of this program?
Each year, it's about 60.
Okay.
It's about 60. And if you look at the tuition, full tuition for 2 semesters is around $5,000. So if you multiply 5,000 times 60, it's nowhere near. You know, that's a much larger number. But that's why, and we talked just for a moment about the FAFSA. We walk the students through that financial aid application because if there's any federal dollars, we want to be able to use those dollars first. So basically, ACE closes the gap between financial aid. So for some students, we're paying all their tuition. For some students, we may be paying $100. But all students do their 80 hours of community service. And another piece that you might appreciate is if a student is not successful in a class in which ACE pays for, they have to reimburse the program back for those dollars. And those dollars stay in your pot. They're not used for anything else. They go strictly back to Montgomery County ACE. And I've had faculty say to me for years, we started this program in 2015 in Giles County, the faculty will say, I can tell you which student in my classroom is an ACE student because they're seeing me during office hours, because there's some skin in the game.
How long do they have to complete their 80 hours of community service? Is it over the 2 years?
Well, they actually do it for each year. So it's really 160. So when they graduate high school is when they can start on their 80 hours. We strongly encourage them to get all 80 hours done before fall semester starts. But if they don't get all 80, we will give them some time into the fall semester to complete those. But our opinion of that is if you can't get your 80 hours completed in the summer when you're not taking courses, how are you going to do it in the fall when you have a full load? So that's why we really try to encourage it. And it makes Michael's life a little bit easier if he has a start and a finish date for all of the students.
Yeah, I'm totally support this program. I wish they had it when I was in school. I really do, and it's great to hear from these students who benefited from it. I mean, you can talk all day about, you go straight to the students. Yes, but I appreciate you bringing them in.
Well, and you mentioned that about, and we hear that so often from maybe an older population of students, not the 18 and 19-year-olds that, oh, I wish we had that. Well, the fact that we now have a program that's taking care of that portion of students, the ones right out of high school and the ones in their second year, we have endowed scholarships. That's our general scholarship program. So now we have more scholarships that we can award to those returning students because of having the ACE program for the ones right out of high school.
Joanna?
Yes, I love this program. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you guys for taking your time. I hope this counts as part of volunteering.
It should.
But thank you so much for coming over here today. I really think that, you know, we are part of the creating a better future part, and I think that by us helping with a little bit of a lot of people's money, that we get to make this decision and give you guys a little bit of money to help you towards your education and hopefully towards a way to get a job, even working for the town or working for the city or working in your community. Or, you know, it's not just about volunteering service during that time, but also what it really teaches you about life. And I hope that, you know, a lot of these students will probably not just learn to volunteer those hours, but they will be able to volunteer hundreds of hours because of this. So thank you so much for being here, and I really love this program, so keep it up.
Thank you.
Thanks. Casey?
Yeah, I'll just add, I spoke with Michael last week, sat down, I learned more about the program, and since its inception, and I think it's fantastic. It's a great way to give back to the community. Really appreciate the way in which the program is investing in the students, but also the organizations in the community as well. It's a rising tide raises all boats kind of program. And Michael, thank you for taking the time to let me know what that's all about last week. I think it's fantastic and fully support it.
And, you know, I appreciate the program too. I know my oldest son, he went through 1 year of the program. He's now working for the town of Herndon. He got his 80 hours in before school started each time. But I do want to mention a coworker, her student, did his volunteer hours with the town of Christiansburg PD. And he's currently at Tech getting ready to graduate yet next year. And his plan is to come work for the Christiansburg Police Department. And that, I can tell you right now, that would not occur if he hadn't have participated in those volunteer hours with the CPD.
We hear those stories all the time from these young people because they have no idea how town government, county government, they don't really see these things. So when they have the opportunity to volunteer within these organizations so often, you folks are grabbing them because they're going to be great employees. They're excited because they're meeting these wonderful people and they're seeing the other side of it and they want to be a part of it.
All right. Well, thank you, Caden and Jesse. Thank you for coming. Appreciate it.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Thank you all.
Okay. Now we're to citizen comments. Any citizen in the audience can approach the podium, make a comment. We do want your name and your address.
Chris Waltz, 1370 Rigby Street. I was here about the plans down on Hickok. June 22nd of 2017, there was a meeting, a town council work session where the Alcorns and Mr. Paul, representing Old Town Mall, came in, gave a presentation. They asked that you move the drainage fix to Hickok Street, at great additional expense to the taxpayers. And the town agreed. As of last week, the Alcorns and Mr. Paul, who were at that meeting, were still the holdouts so that you can get that project done and start that ARC grant to do whatever you're going to end up doing down there, whatever it's going to end up being. I don't understand that. With College Street, it was the easements, we're going to pay you $10, take it or leave it. Everybody's in or everybody's out. With this, you paid Cascade Capital, which is the Alcorns, $16,000. Doberg, which is McAdoo's, $9,000. Church got $8,500. Again, Old Town Mall and the Alcorns over at the Magistrates Building that they own, they were still the two holdouts as of last week. SRS Properties, you paid them $22,000. They've since put in for a facade grant for $5,000. You just paid them $20,000 because you're going to be tearing their property up. And they want another $4,500. Why fix their facade if it might get ruined in the process? I understand businesses are different, but when we're fixing your issue, just like on College Street, we're fixing their flooding problem. That's the problem, is the building floods under there. The Old Town Mall, every time it rains, they're pumping water out into the parking lot from the basement. Why are they still the holdouts? 5 years later, and why are some of these places getting so much money? There's a big difference between $10 and $22,000 or $16,000. And of course, as of last week, it was coming any day. I'm not sure if any day is like the park sponsorships that we were told back in 2018 when y'all had your meeting. They're coming any day now, or if they're actually coming at some point so that you can start the project, because the time is ticking on that grant. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
And Mr. Showalter, you look good in that seat. Y'all try and get it permanent.
I don't know about that. Randy, if you could reach out to council with an email with some of the concerns, Mr. Waltz, and probably respond to him if there's anything open-ended on there. I'd appreciate it. Any other citizen here to make a comment? None? I'll close the citizen comments portion of the agenda. Committee reports, and we'll go from the right. Ms. Hicks.
How do you know I had the most to talk about tonight?
Mr. Wilson.
There is actually, we have two committees. I don't know. Let's start with Tim Wilson over there with the Stormwater Committee. We had several things that went by. One of those items is gonna be a part of the agenda where we are asking for we talked about the penalty for non-payment, so that will come as a discussion and action by mayor and council. That went through our meeting and he came to town council, so he made it through. But then we also have a request for RFPs, for trash services, for the town. And I know we send those out for that, but I just wanted to kind of make a comment that it went out and it was approved and passed through, our committee. But I want you guys to know that. And I guess, I wasn't very happy about that one, just because I didn't have a lot of information. It kind of felt like the information was just given to me on the same day and everything without a lot of preparation. But with that said, we're not making a decision or anything. We're just throwing it out there and see what we'll get, and obviously, we'll come to town council for discussion. But one of those things that I didn't ask the other day, and I'm so glad Valerie's here, I wanted to see if, even if we were to do that or not use those services privately, can we have a trash truck fund, a reserve fund for that? Because I know that we have funds for all kinds of things, for the park and for the waste facility, and we have for so many things, fire trucks and things like that. Why is there now one, or I couldn't see in the budget? Maybe you can answer me or that, or we can go.
Generally something that we cover within the capital budget here.
Mm-hmm.
As those things come up. But it's certainly something that we want to create and assign some balance for that. We can do that as part of the budget process.
Mm-hmm.
Through the next budget amendment or in the
So for clarification, what we're talking about is the request for proposals is to potentially have our waste and our recyclables contracted.
But the recycles are already recycled.
Yeah, no, they already are, but we're asking, the contract comes due here relatively soon. So what we did is we went out with an RFP to see if it's more cost effective for us to contract the solid waste pickup as well as the recyclables. And then once we get the proposals back during the budget cycle, we'll decide, are we gonna buy new garbage trucks or contract out based off what we got as proposals. And so that's the RFP, and all we did as a committee was ask or grant permission to the town to request the proposals so that we can get data to better present to the full council on proposals.
How long ago did we do that, Randy? I know I was on the sewer solid waste committee. So, every 5 years or something like that, we should see what's out there. Yeah, I like it. Yeah, look forward to.
I think it really helps us to know, like what you're saying, and be compatible too.
Mm-hmm.
So in another note, do you have any other comments?
No, ma'am.
Oh, you'll have to turn too. And then another one was that we met on the Central Business Committee and we had our FASAG grant program, the whole thing go through. And I first want to start by just saying thank you to some people for being participants of the FASAG grant application process. I wanted to say thank you to Lauren Trice, Reva Urban, thank you for being here today. And Jason Puff, Casey Jenkins for being part. Obviously, Andrew and Benjamin helped give out the applications and stuff. And obviously, Liz Dickerson couldn't finish with us, but she started and some things came up. But it was great to have her information there. But before I go with any of that and show you exactly what we are approving, I wanted to make a comment regarding Akoya. I gotta read this because, well, I guess it will be self-explanatory, but I am not applying for any FASAG grants. My family, my business is not applying for that, but I feel like, I asked for counsel, but I wanted to make sure that I got to mention this to you guys tonight. not that it probably will apply whatsoever, but I wanted just to be to clarify on this. Today's discussion involves the facade grant program for downtown. As many of you know, my spouse has businesses downtown that might indirectly benefit from the program. However, that program will affect multiple businesses downtown and not myself or my spouse individually. And as a consequence, I'm a member of a group of 3 or more individuals who may be affected. Therefore, in this situation, the exception to the Virginia State and Local Government Conflict of Interest Act, or Virginia Code Section 2.2-3112, B1 applies. In compliance with that section, I hereby declare that I'm able to participate in discussion and voting on this topic fairly, objectively, and in the public interest. And obviously, if anybody has any concerns or questions, I'm obviously open to answer those. But I was going to give the turn to you to say which ones are the 5 applications that we selected as a committee.
Absolutely. So, and Andrew's going to pull these up individually here. So the facade grant had its final meeting this past Friday of last week to make a final decision to bring before council here for the final approval to start the work on some of these properties and allocate the funding. Remember, this is a reimbursement process with these properties as well. We had 3 in downtown and 2 in Cambria. So we're just going to go through that list. The first being 560 Depot Street that Andrew will pull up. So this, as you recall, this is in Cambria, right there across from the depot. And the committee decided to award the $4,500 for contract for full color rendering. And the recommendation is to have a drawing provided by Robin Poteet, who is the artist we've used the past 2 years as well. She's back on board. So this is recommended to be funded at $4,500. And then the next one is going to be 41 West Main Street.
And
Yeah.
if I don't mind, on this other one that we just went through, what we're gonna do, the one that was there before the building, one of the recommendations from the commission, from the group, was the committee was we were not going to, even though they requested to have murals and stuff, we just told, we made a recommendation for them to apply through the arts committee for that.
Correct.
Because we didn't feel there was enough time to approve or not approve or whatever it was. Maybe there will be, with drawings and things like that. I think when it's government money
Right.
and it's citizens' money.
And it's just 2 different pots of money from 2 different committees. So,
Exactly.
So jumping to the next one is in downtown at 41 West Main Street. You guys, this is the tattoo parlor down there, right on West Main. And this is also being recommended at funding at $4,500 for the awning removal that you see there to be historically accurate, and again with Robin to provide a drawing and rendering for other work to be done. The signage that they had included in their application is not to be funded.
Exactly.
So we'll jump back to 630 Depot Street. All right, so certainly everybody knows this building here. This was the one that did get the very full award of $5,000. The committee, it was a resounding yes by the committee to make sure that we can assist this building as we possibly can. Again, though, on a reimbursement cycle only with this building, as all other applicants. This does not need a drawing. This is one of the very few that did not need a drawing recommended, but what Carol has in her application to basically fortify and help in the preservation efforts that are underway for this building here.
Well, can I just
Yeah.
make something else about this building? Obviously, such a beautiful building and such a big part of our history in the town. One of the things that came up during the meeting was that they may not be able to come up with the whole matching amount of money for, the town is providing $5,000 if they have matching money, but I know that financially, there was a comment that maybe they wouldn't be able to spend that whole amount this year. And they do have a year to finish this project, but if anybody wants to donate to them or whatever, obviously it cannot be through us, but it has to be through them. I mean, you're all welcome to do that. I mean, this is such a big part of our history in the town that I would just, love for someone to go right ahead, see if they can come up and help them with GoFundMe accounts, whatever they have to do to be able to come up with that money.
So what are they gonna do to the building?
There is a whole bunch of application. It's like the door fixing, there is a lot of base repair from, I think the front door was a replacement, wasn't it? I have to.
Yeah, and window work as well.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of parts that needed to be fixed.
You can just send it out to us.
Yeah.
We'll need to get,
Yeah,
is
we'll
that
be
okay,
happy to do
Sam,
that.
if she sent it out to
Well,
us?
if they're not prepared tonight, yeah, that'd be fine.
All right. So what else we got?
All right. 8 Roanoke Street, which is in downtown. So this is right across from us, right across from Iron Tree Brewing. And this was recommended at $4,500 to include a drawing as well, to bring this building back to life in many respects with work in the front facade and window areas as well. And then last but not least, number 5 is 127 North Franklin Street. And this is in downtown. This specifically had recommendations for roof work and not to fund signage. That was also in their application. We certainly didn't fund signage on anyone's application. But roof work, and this does not need a drawing. So this was recommended at $4,500. So what you're seeing here is these 5 applications meeting the threshold of the budget that are fairly evenly distributed among downtown and Cambria for the scope of the facade grant as our purview was from the beginning here. So, and we were looking and perhaps, if not tonight, to look just to move forward with these 5. Again, folks like Rita Irvin and others who are part of that committee have been fantastic to move that forward.
That last building, there was no roof either, no repair stuff to the roof.
Correct, I think I
and the sign.
misspoke. I said sign, but no roof or sign on the last one, that's right. So, so this is what the committee came forward with at this point to effectively move forward with so that work can begin on these 5 properties.
So are one of you making a motion
I am.
to,
Yeah, I was
for us
gonna
to-
make the motion.
Can,
One of us.
can I weigh in? Can we wait till the next meeting since we've already passed the adjustment to the
Oh.
agenda? And I don't think
Yes,
it's on here.
absolutely.
Would you
Okay.
guys,
That's
can we
fine.
wait until the first meeting
Sure.
in November?
To
Or-
vote on them,
Yeah.
that would
So
be
does
fine
council
with me.
agree if we put it on
Yeah,
the
yeah,
agenda?
Well, and then maybe we can add to the discussion the fact that I would really, really like to have a discussion, further discussion, not just for this is fine, I'm good, we're past this point. But I think for the next time around, that we really look into what is our plan for the future to do with this, what are, is it going to be a downtown program, or is it gonna be extended to the rest of the town, what is it gonna look like? I think could critique it a little bit more, so it's not like in our labs when we get in, there's no scorecards and no information a lot that we can pass from one council to another. I really, really would like to have a little bit more discussion about it if it's possible.
I do have one question since we're on this subject. 127 North Franklin Street. Did I misunderstand? I thought you said they were gonna do roof work.
I misspoke, it was the
So-
other way around. So the drawing,
I requested for that.
they requested roof and signage work, but those were not items that were decided to be funded
Okay.
in that property.
I have
Okay.
a question.
So-
Sure. Oh, sorry.
No, I'm finished.
Okay. When they turned in their applications, did they say that they asked for the full max $5,000, or did they just wait to kind of see?
And that's something I really want to critique as well, because there is no amount.
There was none that they
There is nothing
requested.
on the request application, and there is nothing that somebody put out there. So we are imagining they want the 5,000.
Okay.
And so, I mean, they don't have to use the 5,000, obviously, it can be a $500, $200. I mean, like 630 Depot Street, they only have $100, 1,000, whatever it is, we're gonna match that,
Yeah, that was
for
the
outside work.
reason for my question. I was just curious if they requested $5,000, but then didn't have the $5,000 to put in for a match. I was just curious why they requested it, but I understand that
Right.
they just asked for a grant, that's what they were given, and they're gonna do as
And
much as
that,
they can.
and the
up to
application,
that.
doesn't have an amount, so that's something that I want to critique the application before it even goes out.
And they've got a year to, from the date of the granting of the application, or the grant, the date, so if we approve
When
it
they're
in November,
awarded. Yeah,
they got 12 months basically to use the money?
on a reimbursement schedule. So, you know, even if they certainly would want the 5,000, but they only do work that's 3,000, that's all the town is gonna match is 3,000.
It has been typically since they've been under contract, we've signed a contract
Right.
with the time period in the past has started.
Okay.
And another thing, you know, and the reason why I want to also bring that discussion back over here to town council is because some of the grants from the past are still floating around. And I thought, my perspective, and I thought it was discussed at one point that money was supposed to go back to the budget. And it's still out there for some of those applications. So, I mean, I thought in the application it had a time limit, but we're actually not really even following. I mean, there should not be more than 1 year out there for this. Because even if this that case, you have maybe the chances of applying again the following year.
Okay. Well, I'd recommend you and Casey meet and have a recommendation for council.
I'll put that forward as a recommendation next time.
And have an application that's not piecemeal. I'd like to see something with the expansion, if you so choose. And you have to remember, you recommended to us, I would suggest probably a work session, not during council, because there's a lot of moving parts to these. And just to comment on the ones that apparently have been out there for years, I can only speak for myself. I know when council enacted this program, I assumed this was on a annual basis, not some. Right. But we probably, and you're right, we probably did not put a deadline on the application.
No,
So-
There was,
There was?
there was, yeah.
We'll
There
have an
is, right.
explanation for that, and I'm happy to.
Okay.
for that. I will say that there have been applicants that have been waiting a long time. It was staff's understanding that this was coming out of the recommendation from such a business to see where council's final action.
But if you remembered, I asked you if we needed to put it as part of the consent agenda, and you said no. That
Well,
it
the
didn't,
consent agenda would be different.
for the motion to make a vote.
Well, I just know that yeah.
Is this something that needs to happen tonight?
I will like that. But if you guys have a problem
I just
with
know
that.
that applicants have been waiting, quite a long time now, but it's out there. It'd be great to be able to bestow letters of your approval or denial of that.
I'm good either way.
I'll leave it to you, council, whether you want to amend the agenda to have this on there as item.
I mean, our November meeting is pushed back a week.
As item D. Anybody want to change it?
I'd rather not get into the slippery slope of
Okay.
last minute adjustments.
So let's
I do
get
want
on the
to
next
approve,
agenda.
but
Okay, very good.
All right, thank you guys for working with us, and appreciate all the applicants for their patience with us. And of course, the committee's
Well,
hard
and it's
work on
winter
it.
time, so hopefully this will give them another 2 weeks to work on the project for next year.
And you mentioned the previous years. I think the reason that many of them, because of the pandemic, did not follow
That's a good
through
point, Casey.
with where they were going to be in their applications.
All right.
Yeah, but I think that's like everything else, you know?
Well, is there anything else from your committee?
Not from my committee.
Casey?
No, nothing at this point.
Mr. Wilson?
No, I have nothing addition to add. Ms. Hockett's gonna talk about, we had our emergency services committee last night, and Tanya's gonna talk about that.
All right.
So I'll leave it to her.
Ms.
We did
Hockett?
have our emergency services committee meeting last night, and it went really well. We're gonna hold those quarterly, so that'll be on the calendar for next year. We did talk a lot about, the secondary locations, expanding our emergency services, and Houston's is gonna work on an in-house study with, Dustin Williams, and they're gonna pull some data back together. bring it to council. They did something very similar when they decided to purchase that property on Roanoke Street, and they're gonna do the same thing and let us know what their recommendations, or what the metrics say, what the best decision is for a secondary location, potentially. And then we also talked about some resources for elected officials and how they can support local government during disasters. FEMA recently came out with some guidance, and I know that Chief Hanks is looking at that. He's gonna present some of that information to us, potentially in a work session. And I know that Randy has that information to share. So just to put that on your radar, that will be coming out. But no actions or anything else needed, just letting you know.
Thank you. Mr. Bishop.
My turn. All right, as you know, for the last couple of months, the Aquatic Center has tried doing Sunday hours, and with all the recommendations from the public, the board has made recommendations to continue with Sunday hours at the Aquatic Center for time being. So once again, it was just on a trial basis, but there was a lot of positive feedback with those hours.
That's excellent. Appreciate the advisory committee taking that on. It's good to have that open. It's good to see things are almost getting back to pre-COVID.
Well, she finally got enough lifeguards too.
Yes, that made a big difference.
That made a big difference.
Hey, can I add one additional thing?
Absolutely.
I did. So the Sustainability Committee doesn't officially meet until Friday. However, a lot of you know about the shopping bag project that we've had going on. And it's typically dropped off at the farmer's market. This year, so far, we've collected 778.6 pounds worth of shopping bags. So imagine how many of those bags it takes to have that much weight. And we received a total of 4 benches. We raffled one off during the farmer's market, and the other 3 are either right there outside the rec center or inside the rec center. They take them out during the farmer's market and sit them around for people to be able to sit on. But so far, it's been a really big success this year. And then, just so you know, in the events that the town is hosting for the rest of the year, we'll have a truck down at those events where you can still bring them after the farmer's market's down, or take them to Food Line, and Food Line's a player with us as well. So anyway, to the Parks and Rec guys, what a great program.
Yeah, so I'm glad you mentioned the Food Line. That's where I drop mine off, and they are part of this program Tim talks about.
Yeah.
Right next to the rec center. But it's more than just the bags. I think there's a wide variety of plastic coverings for like water bottles, things like that you can recycle and take there and put it in there. It goes towards our program.
Right.
So I like that. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Before we get into discussions, just want to thank council. I know we don't have very many people in the audience, but I've been on council a number of years. And, these people do more than just these every other Tuesday nights. I mean, they dedicate their time in the evenings to meet, make recommendations to council, to dig deep into these projects or programs that we've heard this evening. So I just want to appreciate you guys. I know it takes a lot of time away from our family and our other interests out there. And people can say it's part of your job, but there is a lot more going on than just at these council meetings, so it is appreciated.
You're welcome at the Agency on Aging. You take a long time. When you're ready to retire.
Wow. No, I've got some great
cause.
All right. So
later on when you're older.
On that note,
I came there, by the way.
Item 8, discussion and action by mayor and council. So item A, request for street closures for the Christiansburg Veterans Day Parade for November 11th, 2022 from 8:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. The streets included in the closure are Main Street from Park Street to Dunkley Street, Roanoke Street from East Main Street to First Street, Pepper Street from First Street to Hill Street, Franklin Street from First Street to Commerce Street, and Hickok Street from First Street to Commerce Street.
I make a motion that we pass the proposal as read.
I'll second.
Ms. Inline, will you poll council?
Councilman Bishop,
Aye.
Councilwoman Hicks,
Aye.
Councilwoman Hockett,
Aye.
Councilman Jenkins,
Aye.
Councilman Wilson,
Aye.
All right, thank you, council. That passed. And item B, an ordinance amending section 36-156, penalty for non-payment of chapter 36 utilities of Christiansburg Town Code in regard to water, sewer, solid waste, and stormwater fee non-payment and codifying provisions for payment.
I make a motion that we approve the ordinance amending section 36-156 as was read by Mr. Showalter.
Second.
Comments?
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that if people have ever the time to read this information attached to the agendas, it's really helpful to understand what we're really doing. Because sometimes under the agenda, it just shows up what we're doing, but it doesn't really tell you everything behind it. But yeah, this was approved, like I said before, in the Stormwater Committee.
Yeah, it came out of our committee with a recommendation for approval.
All right.
It just extends the dates. 45 days, isn't it?
Yeah.
Any other comments? Ms. Enline, will you poll council?
Councilman Bishop,
Aye.
Councilwoman Hicks,
Aye.
Councilwoman Hockett,
Aye.
Councilman Jenkins,
Aye.
Councilman Wilson,
Aye.
Thank you, council. That passed. Item C, authorization to pursue acquisition of .876 acres located on West Main Street, tax parcel 556-A-45A, parcel ID 020000 from West Main Street Investment Company Incorporated for $185,000.
Make a motion that we approve as read.
I'll second.
Motion is second. Discussion.
Yes. Are we pushing this property because of College Street?
We would be.
So if we don't purchase it, how would that affect College Street?
If we don't purchase it, we wouldn't be able to pursue the Upper Basin Pond because this is in the area of the Upper Basin Pond. I think our thought, I guess engineering wise, is that we could still pursue the pond even if we didn't necessarily do the channel work, because there'd still be a benefit for the downstream property owners. But this would be basically, like I say, kind of the Upper Basin Pond.
Randy, I didn't look deeply.
There'd be additional properties that we need to purchase later, though.
We would, okay. Thank you.
Was this under the, that piece of land, just out of curiosity, was it under what was it under the comprehensive plan? Do you remember?
I think it'd be commercial, wouldn't it? It's next to that.
Yeah, it's right there on Main Street. Is that the lot between the,
Used to be Dr. Davis's.
It's either gonna be commercial or residential.
Practice.
Andrew, it's taken-
That's what it's thinking.
Yeah.
like it was stated
It
before?
appears to be business commercial there, although it is fairly close to the residential.
Okay, thank you. There was a second, wasn't it?
Yes. Any other comments? Ms. Enline, will you poll council?
Councilman Bishop,
Aye.
Councilwoman Hicks,
Aye.
Councilwoman Hockett,
Aye.
Councilman Jenkins,
Aye.
Councilman Wilson,
Aye.
Motion passed. Yep, I do want to, if anybody hasn't noticed, when you're absent of a mayor, there's no tie votes. So it's sort of strange for me not to have any input on this, but I also like that there's no option for town votes, but there has been a majority vote for each one. So, closed meeting, Ms. Hicks.
I make a motion to go into a closed meeting under Code Virginia 2.2-3711A, number 3, for the discussion or consideration of acquisition of real property for a public purpose, or of a disposition of publicly held real property, where discussion in an open meeting will adversely affect the bargaining position or negotiating strategy of the public body. The closed meeting is being held for discussion of all parcels at the Christiansburg Huckleberry Park, at the intersection of Peppers Ferry Road Northwest and future Booker T. Washington Parkway Northwest, under construction. And approximately 7.5 acre portion of tax parcels 435-A-3A parcel ID 270079.
Second.
All right, motion and second. Ms. Allen, will you poll council?
Councilman Bishop.
Aye.
Councilwoman Hicks.
Aye.
Councilwoman Hockett.
Aye.
Councilman Jenkins.
Aye.
Councilman Wilson.
Aye.
All right, thank you, council. We'll adjourn for 5 minutes, and we need to evacuate.
Evacuate.
Clear the room.